This is the Carty Method Podcast.
Well, hello. You might not know me. I'm Carty. You might have seen one of my podcasts here on YouTube. Maybe you've heard me talk about a foolproof photography business plan in 6 steps. Or maybe you've seen me talk about the portfolio truth that most photographers never learn. Today's a good one. Today, I'm going to talk about your portfolio, and I want to zero in on the 6 stumbling blocks that I see amongst emerging photographers. By the way, if you go to thecartymethod.com, you can also be coached by me. You can join Portfolio Lab. You can become a part of this whole thing that I'm doing here as far as 21st century modern photography education for the modern pro, not the guy who's trying to be pro 25 years ago. For me, I started 35 years ago. So I've been through all the transitions and I pretty much know what's up. Today is a big one. This is one of the biggest stumbling blocks that I see with emerging photographers is their portfolio. That's the thing that I see more than too often. Photographers, just their portfolio is so weak. So for today, which is the Carty Method Podcast, episode number 65, today we are talking about 6 portfolio basics most photographers get wrong. This is the topic of today. 6 portfolio basics that most photographers get wrong. And they don't get a little bit wrong, they get really, really wrong. Your portfolio, if you have a portfolio that isn't working, the work you think that you've done with real great vibes might not be it. What's true is your portfolio might be costing you assignments. Your portfolio might be costing you credibility. And your portfolio might be costing you momentum. That's the reality. So today, I'm going to break down what you might be getting completely wrong and how to fix it. Very, very important. This is going to be a tight like a tiger episode. So let's talk about number 1. This is the biggest mistake that I see photographers making. The biggest mistake. Your portfolio is not a gallery of everything that you've done. Everything that you've done. Okay? This is something that I want you to shake around your head. Your portfolio is not a gallery of everything that you've ever been paid a nickel to shoot. Okay? I often point to that video where I say less is more when you're trying to get paid, okay? And that you don't need to show 50 frames to prove that you're good, especially 50 frames from like you're only as good as your best frames. And it's only relevant when those frames are relevant to your ideal client. So You need to show one direction that you own, like one direction. So I want you to think of it like this. New photographers think, I'll toss in weddings, portraits, landscape, commercial, just to show my favorite thing that photographers say. I can do it all. 'Cause I'm a boss baller with a camera and I can do it all. Sadly, like many photographers learn over decades, like that's not how you do it. You don't do it that way. Like it takes decades for photographers to figure out that they're not supposed to be saying that they can do it all. Because what that is confusion. Number one, it's confusion. Number two, it's dilution. And number three, you can't. You can't be amazing at the top 1% level by shooting everything. So when I built my editorial career, I refined my style. Okay, my style, the way that I shoot. I refined my voice, and from that voice that I refined, this look and feel that was Steve Carty, from that look and feel came assignments. Okay, they came from my style. Your portfolio must reflect the future that you want. Are you locking this in? Your portfolio must reflect the future that you want, not the messy past. Look at that shot. Ooh. In between. Not the messy past that you've already done. It just can't be that. That's not ever gonna work. So that's number one. Your portfolio cannot just be a gallery of everything that you've done. That's number one. Okay, so lock that in, screenshot it, do whatever you need to do so this is in your memory. That's number one. Now, number two, your work must be intentional, not just good. Okay? Your work must be intentional, meaning for a purpose. Your work must be intentional, not just good. Okay? So, for something. Like, I made a video called Photography Portfolio Principles for the Top 1%. And I talk about what separates the 1% from the 99%. Okay? And what that thing is that separates the 1% from the other 99%. And by the way, 87%, 86% of photographers fail in their first 2 years. So what separates the 1% is intention. Because every time they shoot, they say, who is this for? Who is my ideal client? And what do I want them to do after they see my image or my editorial? That's what the top 1% does, even before they shoot anything. Who is this for? And obviously, that's who is my ideal client. And what do I want them to do after they look at this work? When you look for a body of work and you can feel the story, the rhythm, the craft, that's what hits. And that's what you feel when you look at the top 1%'s work. But if you feel like a collection of random nice pictures, if that's what you're showing, just collect. Not only are you showing, if that's what you're collecting is just a random body of nice pictures, you're missing the through line, intention, this through line that goes through all photographers that are making a living today. So I remember a time when very early on in my career, like, I wasn't consistent with my style. And I was kind of jumping around with the way that I was shooting. Not what I was shooting. I was a portrait and fashion photographer. But my style was jumping around. And that's the time that I noticed that brands weren't calling. So I had amazing technical work, but there wasn't like identity and there wasn't intention, and I wasn't shooting for a specific result. But when I started showing what I wanted to get paid for, when I started really honing my style, the way that I shot, the type of faces I wanted in my portfolio, the type of faces that I wanted to get jobs shooting, when I had that work in my portfolio, that's when calls started coming and people started asking me to shoot that. They wanted me to shoot that. Interesting. So, number 2, your work must be intentional, not just good. It needs to be shot for a purpose. Very, very, very necessary. That's number 2. Number 3. Number 3 is presentation. Presentation equals trust. Okay? And if you ignore it, if you ignore presentation, it's at your own risk. You're blowing it. You're literally blowing it if you ignore how important this is right here. Presentation. And I got to tell you, I got a pretty slick presentation when it comes to how I present myself to the world, how I present myself on the internet, how I present myself on YouTube, how I present my portfolio. Everything that I do is to build trust. What my thumbnails look like on YouTube, what my website looks like, what the Carty Method website looks like. Everything is about building trust. And when you look at my presentation, the consistency, my style, the way that I show that I can shoot on location and in studio, my ideas, my light, all of this is part of my presentation, and all of it builds trust. So ignore presentation at your own risk. At your own risk. And by the way, congratulations, Calligraphy, who has now, his wings have evolved, which it's always nice, bro, when your wings have evolved. It starts with you having, and you can see next to Calligraphy's name here, he now has Chautauqua, which is a triangle, a very beautiful triangle. You go from, when you become a member of this channel, you start with a crown, because you are my kings and queens. You start with a crown. And then after a year of being a member, you get wings, which is kind of dope. And then after a year of having wings, when you roll into your second year, you get Chautauqua, which is what you see Calligraphy having, and my brother Opal Customs having, and some other people who have been dedicated fans for a really long time. Also, if you became a member recently, you'll see yourself right here. And you see this number here. We're trying to get this number to 1,000. So this is how we have commercial-free live streams, is because of the members of this channel. So please consider becoming a member. All right. So imagine, what do you notice first when you open a website or a portfolio? Like, whenever I'm asked, like, and again, I get asked really good questions. So I think I saw this question in one of my comments. But what I'm asked is, what do I notice first when I open a portfolio website? Like a photographer's portfolio website. What do I notice first? And it's always the same thing. It's always the same thing when it comes to opening a portfolio website. Whenever I open a portfolio website, the first thing that I'm looking for is cohesion. So when I'm looking at a photographer's website, I'm looking at cohesion, and I'm looking at style, and I'm looking at subject matter to see if it makes sense. As we look at Ammon's website, you can see there's no question as to what type of photography that he does. There's no question that he's a portrait photographer. There's no question that he shoots in studio and on location. And there's no question that he uses and understands how to light. So the first question, the first answer to that question, like, what do I look for when I look at a photographer's portfolio website? It's like the sequencing, the cohesion, the style, and me understanding who that photographer's ideal client is. So the first few frames, well, they set the tone for your whole portfolio. And if your images feel scattered, like, the viewer is going to stop scrolling. So you can see within these first 4 and then these first 8, there's a sensibility. There is an understanding as to who this photographer is. And if the first images feel scattered, your viewer, the person who's looking at the website, stops trusting. They stop trusting in you. If your work is inconsistent, if you offer like, hey, download a PDF of my portfolio, and that's sloppy, if your sequencing is weak, you've just introduced chaos into your brand. You've just introduced chaos, not clarity, into your brand. Treat your portfolio like a business asset. And I mean, my portfolio is a business asset. That's how we treat our portfolio. It literally is a business asset. And it's not a photo dump. You really need to lock that in. Your portfolio is not a photo dump. And once you understand that, it becomes a lot easier to put your portfolio together. When you think like, hey, my portfolio is only for my ideal clients. It's only for people who have the potential to hire me. And anything else, anybody else, even including myself, it's not about me. It's not about me at all. It is about the person and the people who are looking at it. So that's number 3, okay? Presentation. And presentation equals trust. If you're ignoring presentation, you're really blowing it. And if you don't have a portfolio website right now in 2025, about to be 2026, oh my goodness, I have a website sponsor. My website sponsor is Pixpa. All you need to do is go into the video description, scroll down a little bit, and look for my 5 sponsors. The sponsors that I take on are very, very specific to me, very specific to my audience. Pixpa is by far the best web builder, the best client share for your portfolio. I mean, client share for your like images that you shoot for your clients. Like there's client shares inside. Like it's so deep and it's so inexpensive. And you get a great discount by using my offer code inside the video description. Pixpa. So basically, let's get into number 4, because all of these are important, but I'm doing these in order of 6. This is number 4. Okay. Number 4. Show the work that you want to be doing. Show the work that you want to be doing. And again, I'm going to reiterate, not a dump of the work that you've done. It can't just be a dump of the work that you've done. It has to be where you're trying to go with your career. This is literally like what makes the Carty method so good is that this comes straight from the Carty method. And the Carty method is my 6-stage system for helping you transition from a life of making no money with your camera to a life of making a full-time 6-figure income with your camera. So you have to show the work that you want to be doing. Okay. And the way that my system goes, it's like that's phase 1, which is essentially you build work. Like it looks like this. This is the market. Okay? This is the market, and this is you and your work. Okay? If you're not lining up the work that you're making for a market that wants that work, then you're just doing it. You're just doing it for you. You're just doing it for you, which is ego. It's ego. And if you don't investigate the market, if you don't look at the market that has the potential to hire you, and you are just making your work, if you're just making your work and not thinking about a market, ego. You think you're so good. You think that you're so good, but then how much money are you making? Exactly $0.00 per month, per year. Zero. Because you're making work to fill an ego. Your ego. Because you think you can shoot everything. You think that everything that you shoot is amazing. And you haven't investigated the marketplace, or this very important word, demand. You have not investigated if there is demand for your work. And guess what? There's going to be zero demand for your work if you are not aware of the marketplace. If you're not aware of the marketplace, there is going to be zero demand for your work because you're blind. You're blind to it. And again, for those who watch, let's hide that. For those who watch, hello. You'll know I tell stories. I like to tell stories. And one of my favorite stories to tell is the story of the hot dog vendors. There's two hot dog vendors, and they're arguing over who's going to sell the most hot dogs. Okay? And the first hot dog vendor says, I'm going to outsell you, bro. I'm going to outsell you because my hot dogs cost $1. My hot dogs cost $1. I'm going to sell way more hot dogs than you. End of story. So then the guy he's arguing with is like, no way, bro. Your hot dogs, your dollar hot dogs from Costco, my hot dogs are gourmet. Gourmet. I'm going to sell way more hot dogs than you. So they're cheaper. $1 hot dogs. Gourmet. And they're going at it. But then this third hot dog vendor, who was too busy and wasn't invited to this conversation, is over there. And he's like, excuse me, sirs. I'd like to throw my hat into the ring, and I am currently selling more hot dogs than you because I'm right here selling hot dogs. And my bid is I'm only going to sell hot dogs to hungry people who like hot dogs. I'm only going to sell hot dogs to hungry people who like hot dogs. And he's posted up outside a stadium as the baseball game, as the concert is letting out. Selling lots of hot dogs. So most emerging pros stop stop shooting once they've started to get paid work. Like once they start getting paid work, then the things that they were shooting for themselves stops, and they start only showing that paid work, thinking that that's enough. But if you see the students, the people who I have in Portfolio Lab, and you see how I challenge them every week and how they create work on spec, like as if they're shooting for Nike. I prompt them to shoot as if they're shooting for Nike. I get them to make concept work, like what if pieces. Like imagine this is your client. What would you shoot for them? And then those bodies of work go into their portfolio, and right from Portfolio Lab here on YouTube, those pieces become paid assignments. Like they get hired based on that work because that work is shot with intention, and because these photographers, they have ambition. They show ambition because when I give them an assignment, they do it. And that goes in their portfolio and then gets them work. Because the assignments that I give are for a professional photographer. Okay? Like you can't get by with just your past experience alone. Okay? You can't get by from just your past experience. I put out so much content, like actually an obsessive amount of content. And if you're not watching my old content, secret time, you better get on it soon before you're not able to. I talk a lot about how to get work and how to build a portfolio that gets work. And the number one thing is that you're making work for your ideal client, and that work, like you never stop making it, and you don't rest just because you've got a client and then just show that. Like great example. The year 1999, I'm shooting the Winners account. You guys know Winners, right? Winners, huge account, making in 99, making $8,000 a month. Okay. $8,000 a month. Of course, I have expenses because I'm shooting film. This is pre-digital. So I have film and processing expenses, printing expenses, scans, all of these things like expenses to add to this advertising client. But when I had this, because I was making so much money, and I'm 29 years old. Okay. Making a lot of money. And I stopped shooting anything for myself. Like my job was serving this client, and it was one client. And I shot once or twice a month. I made tons of money, and all I did was serve that client. But guess what? Winners fired that advertising agency, and I went from making $10,000 a month to making zero. They hired another advertising agency in Toronto. I work my ass off to land that advertising agent as like, hey, I was shooting it before. Now that you're a new agency, use me. They used me. They did one campaign, and then that advertising agency got fired, and Winners moved all their advertising to the US. So I went from making $9,000 a month to making $0,000 a month. And guess what? The best part, you guys are going to love this. The best part is I had not shot anything for myself, for my portfolio in 18 months. All I had was Winners. That's all I had. And I had not shot anything else. for myself to get nor did I try to get other client work during that time, year and a half. So it's a crazy chain of events happened. First of all, I lost that client, which now I'm at $0,000 a month. I wasn't really saving because I was like balling. So I didn't really have a kitty. And then like, not only did that work stop, but then SARS happened and like people stopped traveling and I was making money. Like I started shooting for a magazine. I was making money when people like, it's just like anything that I tried to get off the ground, like was stunted. It was really a hard time. And then World Trade Center happened and then I didn't work for 6 months. So like, there's so many things like keeping your portfolio relevant and keeping your portfolio up to date. There's so many things that you can win with by doing that. Even when you have 1 client, 2 clients, 3 clients that you're servicing, but you're not doing anything to get other clients, you're just servicing them, they fall by the wayside. You're screwed. So this is just some big brain stuff that I'm trying to help you with. And know that if you're not showing the work that you want to be doing, you're not going to be getting the right work. You're going to be getting the wrong work. That is number 4. We have 6 of these very good points, and we are about to go into number 5. Number 5 is incredibly important. Okay? You, as a professional photographer or soon to be professional photographer in 2025, soon to be 2026, you need to edit ruthlessly. Sorry, I have a brain injury. Edit ruthlessly. Okay? You need to edit ruthlessly. And for gosh sakes, choose your lane. Okay? Choose your lane. And the most important question is, who are you? Who are you? Like, ask yourself as a photographer. And it all starts with you having the wherewithal to know what is killer and what is garbology. If you can't tell the difference with your own photography between a 3 out of 10 and an 11 out of 10, an 11 is where we're aiming. Okay? Here's why. This is something that you need to lock in. Okay. Good is no longer good enough. In fact, good is the new average. Just wrap your head around that. Good is the new average. Okay? So, as a photographer, if you're trying to be a photographer, understand that people with iPhones are making good. Okay? Because good, because of technology, is the new average. Okay? So photographers need to be better than good. Would you agree? Photographers need to be better than good. So photographers, well, how about a new word? How about we call this word great? Photographers need to be great, right? But guess what? All photographers who are making a living, great is standard. Standard. Great is average for a pro photographer. Okay? Great is average for a pro. And in fact, if you're only shooting great, you better level up. So this is something, understand that this comes straight from my coaches. This what I'm giving you is so proprietary. It's so proprietary. I'm going to get in shit for talking about it on YouTube. Simple. From my coaches. But you need to hear it. Okay? Good is the new average. Photographers with iPhones are shooting good. Okay? So, in order to be a pro, photographers need to be better than good. We need to be great. But guess what? All photographers who are trying to be pros are pretty great. So, great becomes average. Is average for a pro. So then how do you separate yourself from other pros who are also great? You need a new word. You need a new word. A new word, and so a word that's a secret word. And you're not going to ever hear me say this word again on this channel, by the way. This word is secret. I shouldn't even be talking about it. But you need a new word when it comes to measuring your own work. Okay? Remember when this section is called edit ruthlessly and choose your own lane. Okay? Editing is knowing what's meh and knowing what's meh. It's not the shit that you do in post-production. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about knowing how to put the right photos in the right combination, in the right sequence in your portfolio, knowing what to shoot that's going to elevate you and take you to the next level. That's the kind of shit that I teach that nobody can teach. Anyone can teach you how to push pixels. All right. So great for a pro photographer is average. So you need a new word to separate yourself from, other pros. You need a new word that you can use that will separate you from other pros that is above good, because good is now shit, because everybody's good. Great, because all photographers are now great, is now average. So that you can't even be great anymore. You need a new word. And that new word that I'm going to give to you that I will deny, I won't deny it, but what I'll do is make sure that you accredit that you heard it here, but don't use this word all willy-nilly. Don't you? Oh my God, that's amazing. Really? That's amazing. Like you were amazed, like your whole perspective, and like we use words that are very powerful words in the wrong way. So this word, don't willy-nilly this word. Be very specific when you say this word, which will make it mean more. Okay? So the word is spectacular. It's a very special word. Okay? And spectacular is now your bar. So imagine it looks like this. Good. Great. Okay? You can't get here without starting here and then moving through here and then working it working, like we actually work great to spectacular. Like you actually have to work it. It doesn't just come automatically. Spectacular is a mindset. It is a place that you travel to. You don't land on spectacular. And if you think, if you're shooting frames and you're like, oh my God, that's spectacular, literally punch yourself in the face because your ego is so big, so big. Helmut Newton, who started shooting for Vogue at 22 years old, okay? Helmut Newton, my favorite photographer of all time, said, I didn't get good until I was 50. He was shooting it for Vogue at 22. So you thinking that you're dropping spectacular, give your head a shake. Please, you're not that good. Learning how to edit is one of the toughest habits, okay? That forces you to determine good, great, spectacular. It forces you. And if none of your photos you feel like fit into the spectacular realm, meaning against another pro, that work is still holy moly. If you can't make that work, focus all your efforts on learning how to be spectacular, because that's the top 1%. And that's what the top 1% do. So in phase 1, when I talk about your work in your market, in my accelerator, in the Carty method system, like what I hear from photographers is I don't want to restrict myself. I don't want to restrict myself by shooting. You might be saying this to yourself right now. I don't want to restrict myself by shooting just one thing. And it's like, well, you'll never get good unless you shoot one thing. Like, who are you more afraid of? Like the Kung Fu guy, this is a Bruce Lee, the Kung Fu guy who knows 100 different moves, or the Kung Fu guy who knows one move that he's practiced 1,000 times? I'd be afraid of that guy. Because the guy who knows 100 moves is going to know 100 moves okay. The guy who knows one move that he's like just, that guy's going to crack your skull. So trying to be the jack of all trades, like you don't get that gift. That's why there's mechanics who just can work on all cars. And then there's Ferrari mechanics who only work on Ferraris. Who do you think gets paid more money? The one who can work on any car and do kind of anything? Or the one who only works on Ferraris? Hey, Amond, 21 months. Let's go. Amond Thompson. And again, I just showed your website, Amond. And this is the smoke for you because I'm giving you vibes. We got to give you like a little bit of atmosphere for becoming a member again for 21 months. And thank you for the compliments. Emma says that I'm dropping gold today. I couldn't do these without you, Emma. You're a huge help and part of my cartel. So, sharp like a samurai sword. I love that. Thank you. So, know that many photographers are worrying about restricting themselves. But if you're thinking about a business phase, if you're thinking about like how this means for business, like, do you trust the general contractor or do you trust the bathroom specialist to work on your bathroom? You know, like we like to hire specialists, people who are the best at that one particular thing. So what I ask you to do is choose a lane. For me, I shoot editorial portraits and street style. I used to only shoot fashion. only shoot fashion. I used to be a fashion photographer. And looking at this work, well, you can see that fashion photographer in me. But I am also a portrait photographer, which I'm allowed to be both. And I'm allowed to show fashion pictures and portraits. Like I you can look at them all together because I shoot fashion in a portraity way. Would you not agree that I shoot portraits? I shoot fashion in a portraity way. So therefore, because I shoot fashion in a portraity way, when you look at my fashion and you look at my portraits and you see them together, well, they make sense. It makes sense. So it took a long time for me to go there, but I chose a lane, and the lane that I chose is going to break your brain. My lane is my style. Because if you nail your style, nail your style, I'm gonna break your brain. Apply to anything. Once you nail your style, you can apply it to anything. So my lane is a visual sensibility. It's a visual sense. Okay? That's my lane. And therefore, that visual sense can be applied to anything. And that is the biggest secret that you're going to learn today. You're going to learn that a visual sensibility is more powerful than subject matter. I'm a people shooter, so all my subjects are people. But because I shoot them with a visual sensibility, I can put different people types, like some fashion, some street style, some musicians, some business people. I can put them all together because of my visual sensibility. So that's the thing that is the most important. When you choose a lane, and I chose a visual sensibility as a lane, you free up decision making so that your clients start to find you because of the way that you shoot. Clients actually start to find you because of the way that you shoot, not just what you shoot. So when I see young photographers spending their time working on mishmashed genres, and work like work that's mismatched genres, mismatched style, changing your style every time you shoot, you can't wonder why your phone doesn't ring. Because people, when they hire me, they know what they're going to get. They know they're going to get my visual sensibility. Doesn't matter what I decide to shoot, it's going to have my visual sensibility. So without developing that, it becomes a recipe for no one. So if you're not developing your style alongside your visual sensibility, alongside like your lane, then you'll never have one. And you'll always be a secret. So let's talk about, this is number 6. And this is the last thing that I'm going to give you today. Number 6 is about using personal projects strategically. I spelled that wrong. Using personal projects strategically. Understand that I had brain surgery less than 2 months ago, so sometimes my spelling, it's going to be off. You got to bear with me. How do you use a personal project strategically? Well, personal work is the engine of your portfolio. Personal work is the engine to your portfolio, to your book. Your book and your portfolio is the same thing. So personal work, the work that you do when money is not a factor, is the engine to your portfolio. Okay? Especially when you haven't done huge paid jobs yet. Okay? Here on YouTube, I often say that your personal work is how you train. It's how you train the market to see your identity. Because you have to train the market to understand like who you are as a photographer and how you see. So I've literally had a very long career of literally testing things, like doing self-directed projects and spec work, like a lengthy career. I've shot for Nike, I've shot for Apple, I've shot for some of the biggest brands, and some of that comes from referral. Some of that comes from, oh my God, Steve Carty, you got to know that guy. Some of it comes from them seeing my work and messaging me. So the self-directed assignments and the speculative work that you do, what that does is it proves to you that you can deliver the results that a customer, a client at that level would expect. And how do you do it? Well, you go to the Apple store and you buy Apple Apple headphones, and you make sure that there's a return policy that you can take them back because like they're expensive. And then you get a model and you shoot a whole thing on like Apple AirPods or Apple AirPods Max. And then after you return them and you get your money back and you're like, you know what? It's not really for me. Keep all the packaging, get your money back. And now you have your money back and you have very high-end products that are super expensive in your portfolio. Or you use a friend who has an expensive product like that you can shoot with him or her for your portfolio. Like speculative work or spec work is how you prove to potential clients that you can do the work that you say that you can do. Because photographers, oh my God, can they talk? Blah, 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 blah. I'm so good. Prove it to me, bro. Show me what you would shoot for me if money was no object. Okay? Like, those bodies of work, they give you legitimacy. Like, the spec work that I've done, like, it makes you legit. And I've done so much spec work. This is spec work that turned into job. This is how close it is. Job, right here. Job, and the spec work right next to it. Okay? And it's like, it happens so quickly. Like spec work. And when you see like the portraits that I shoot as spec work and how they turn into jobs so quickly, and the way that I show my portfolio, you can't tell the difference between a job and commercial work, a job, personal stuff. Like it just all looks like at the same high level. So spec work is what gives you legitimacy. So if you're worried your portfolio lacks paid assignments, build strategic personal work that looks like the assignments that you actually want to get. Like if you had never shot for Apple, they haven't hired you yet, shoot for Apple and put that in your portfolio. And that's going to attract the type of clients that Apple advertising is attracting. Okay. That way, when a brand or an agency opens your portfolio, they say, yo, they already are doing and thinking the way that we think. This photographer is the right photographer for us. So that's 6 ways that you can flip your portfolio on its head. 6 portfolio basics that newer photographers get so wrong. 6 foundational errors that many new photographers make. Now you know how to flip them. Your portfolio is not just showing everything that you've ever shot. It's about showing your voice, okay? It's about showing your specialty, your future, and also when you follow these steps that I'm giving you, you'll start to attract the right clients. And you'll stop wondering why the ones who maybe don't contact you, like, well, now you know, because they're not your ideal customer. If you like this episode, by the way, it is so easy to hit the subscribe button. All you need to do is hit the subscribe. And even in me saying subscribe, it might like highlight the subscribe button. I give a lot of gold away here on YouTube for the emerging photographer, for the newer professional photographer, and for the professional photographer that's been going for 20, 25 years and their career is no longer going like this. It's starting to go like this. That's what my content is for. And I put out gold, whether you understand it or not. If you dive into my content, you will see everything that I give you is actionable. Everything that I give you is tested, and everything that I give you works. I have a thing that I call Portfolio Lab, which is how I help photographers like you with this exact thing, which is how do you make the right work for the right market? You can just watch Portfolio Lab and see how valuable it is just as an observer when I help photographers with their composition, with their imaging, with everything related to work and your professional portfolio. Thursdays, we do photo reviews every Thursday here on YouTube. Tuesdays, I do a secret workshop on Zoom for the members of Portfolio Lab, where we go step by step into weekly briefs, critiques, and direct mentorship, which you get in the in these Zoom meetings. So please consider joining Portfolio Lab. My accelerator starts again in let's say January, and we're shifting. We're changing it up. January is going to be year 2, like the beginning of my. No, not year 2, year 3. It's going to be the beginning of year 3 of me doing my accelerator. And because I've done 2 years and run like probably 150 people through my accelerator, I know what works. I know the timing that works. I know the intensity that works. I know the intensity that's too much. I know the intensity that's too little. So this next round of my accelerator is really special. And then just also, you can go to thecartymethod.com/accelerator and put yourself on the wait list. Also, I don't know how many accelerators I'll do next year. I just don't know. So January, I can tell you, January, I'm doing that one. But I'm no longer like really wanting to set myself up too far in the future. Like, I'm a busy photographer. I'm getting busier and busier and busier with client work. So I don't know how many accelerators I'm doing next year. I might just do one, which will start in January. So if you're trying and you've been thinking or on the fence about joining my accelerator, I'd try to get into this one, because who knows how many more there'll be. Again, it's like this accelerator is called a beta because and it takes a lot out of me, and myself and my team put a lot into the accelerator because it's so effective. It works so well. But also myself and my team sometimes needs a rest. So we'll see how it goes in 2026 as far as how many we do. I can guarantee you one. So January is when that one starts. And how you're going to find out is by being on the wait list, by paying attention here, by allowing emails, sending me emails, telling me like, I want to be in your accelerator. That's important. And then also doing what you say you're going to do. I hope this brought you value. I put a lot into my podcasts. It's now time for you to go look at your photos and start flagging the ones that you are doing with purpose, with a potential client in mind, that have direction and intent. There's no other way to do this. I hope today brought you value. Again, for my accelerator members, I get to see you guys in an hour. If you're not in my accelerator or not in Portfolio Lab, and the only access you get to me is here on YouTube, and it's one-sided, and you're not live in chat and sending me messages, like, you're not using me right, is a good way to say it. You're not using me as effectively as you could. You could be talking to me directly on Zoom twice a week. The people who are, their careers are going faster than yours. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on Thursday. Thanks for watching.
This commercial-free live stream was brought to you by the members of this channel. If it wasn't for you, we'd have to fill up these live streams with ads that would just interrupt the flow. The members of this channel make commercial-free content during these live streams possible. Consider becoming a member for $5 a month today to gain access to secret live streams, live chats, and to show your support with that crown badge next to your name. Sharing is caring. If this content has brought you value today, share it, clip it, post it to your socials. Curating and sharing helpful content makes you an expert, even if the content you're sharing isn't yours. Be a curator and share this content with your network. If you're an emerging or struggling photographer that's trying to break free from your current 9-to-5 grind and transition to the life of a working pro photographer, that's our obsession here at the Carty Method. Register, get the support you need. If you're alone and struggling at this craft, make sure you join the Carty Method community. You'll always find help in the show notes. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Find your creative and business genius with the Carty Method.